Hello and welcome to Rabbit Hole Reflections. I'm so glad you found us. Here at RHR, we explore transformative journeys through life's deepest challenges. I'm your host, Lisa Van Slyke. Each week, I'll guide you through powerful conversations with guests that illuminate paths from chaos to calm. Join us as we discover how our most difficult moments can become the foundation for profound growth. Through these raw, honest discussions, we'll uncover the wisdom and resilience that emerges when we face our darkest moments. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I am your curator, Lisa, and today I am joined by Suzanne Marambio. She is coming to us from Australia. Is that correct?
Correct.
Suzanne lives in Melbourne with her husband and her two children. In 2012, her mother passed away suddenly from cancer, which became the catalyst for her spiritual awakening. In her debut book, Journey from the Ego to the Center, she shares her personal journey of self-mastery, recounting how her mental and emotional breakdown led to significant breakthrough as she transitioned through the 3D, 4D, and 5D state of consciousness. Over the past 10 years, she has undergone significant transformation through numerous experiences of spiritual death of the ego and karmic lessons. They have helped her reconnect with her soul purpose and her love for the divine creator. Suzanne, thank you so much for being here with me today. I am so excited to have this conversation with you.
Well, thank you, Lisa. I'm excited as well. Yes, I'm based in Melbourne, and my book, Journey from the Ego to the Heart Center, just came out in March on the 27th, and it was
Congratulations.
recently, yep, thank you, recently published with Pegasus Publications in the UK. So this book, I suppose it starts in chapter 1, and it was inspired by my mother's passing in 2012. And just couldn't process it. It was very sudden for our family to get this diagnosis that she had, and also that actually was tongue cancer and was starting to spread through her throat, and that was blocking her ability to swallow. She lost a lot of weight. She went from a size 12 to an 8, so that's like 2 dress sizes. And when the hospital staff, the oncologist, did all the screening and they took her MRI pictures up on the wall, as a family, we watched it and all we could see was black splotches. So this cancer had spread quite rapidly, even though she had had radiation therapy in March 2012. And when she was submitted into the hospital on July, the 2nd of July, it was due to the ulcer bleeding. It actually bled during the night. And after that screening, and we sat there on the 9th of July, saw this picture. She was looking at my dad like, I'm going to go on a holiday, aren't I? Can't I just get it operated? And she couldn't speak. She was like sign languaging, because by that stage, it was always like hard to swallow. So
Okay.
she was like, it was like, when you hold your tongue and you try to speak, it's that difficult.
Okay.
And we all just looked at it and we're like, it's not going to happen. This trip is not going to happen. She couldn't fathom that this was quite serious, because it was the size of a golf ball, right?
wow.
So we all had to sort of come together and come to this realization, we don't have much time with her. So as a family, every day was precious. And I remember at that time, I had 2 young children. So I had a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. Fortunately, my mother-in-law was living with us, but only because her husband passed away the year before. So I'd already had like 2 key figures. Yeah. So I'm trying to hold it together. Every day I was literally going to work in tears, like my eyes were red, and I'd go and visit my mum in the evening. And I just remember going through this stage of feeling very helpless, very lost. I wanted to tell her that I loved her and thank you so much for everything, but I couldn't even express that. I remember looking at her across the room and we would just have tears coming down our eyes, because there was no words to express in that moment what we truly felt, because we thought we would just wail, like we would just fall apart. And each day I just remember her getting to that point where she was getting quite weak. She was then writing on paper, like, this is what I need you to bring, like, to the hospital. And it was the turning point was I actually had my birthday with her in the hospital. So that was that was a bit depressing on my 36th birthday, trying to enjoy lemon meringue cake as a family, but knowing that this was probably the last maybe couple of meals that we will have with her. And it was that day that I remember her as we were leaving, she gave her wedding ring to my dad. And we both looked at each other and we thought, oh, if she hands over that ring, that's not good. And I remember her signaling to him, don't bring any clothes. And I just walked out. I felt so crushed because I thought, it's any day now. It's any day.
Yes.
And yeah, it's quite confronting. I remember just feeling really traumatized by it because it's like every minute you just think, when's that phone call going to come through? And it was literally, I had the worst sleep the night before. I remember I was restless. It was like my body knew it's coming, it's going to happen. And the phone rang on the 31st, early morning. Was my dad. And he said, stop, called us, it's time. And I just said to my husband, you have to drive. I can't drive. And I just remember crying, knowing like I'm already grieving before she's even left. And we got to the hospital and, they said, have time with her, but then we've got to send you out of the room. And we all, she looked quite neat. They sort of brushed her hair and they had her all ready. But this is what I talk about in chapter 1. It's very like I pull you in as the reader to experience firsthand what it's like to lose a parent or what it's like to lose someone you're deeply close to. Because I had to start there. I had to show you the roller coaster of grief. And yeah, it was just really weird when the staff said, oh, you can go now for a few minutes, wait in the foyer. But it was so bizarre. Everyone just sort of left. It was just me, my husband, and my auntie, who was her younger sister. My dad went to move the car. My brother's gone to get a coffee. And I'm like, why are these people leaving? But everyone deals with it differently, right? And my
Right.
husband's like, don't leave because this is what happened when my dad passed. This is the moment you need to be here with your mum. So I'm like, cool, we'll wait, we'll wait. And then we went in the room and she was just so peaceful. It was just like those last breaths we had with her. And it was quite traumatic because it was just so weird to see someone just leave the earth plane so quickly and so suddenly. And then when everyone came back to the room, it's like, it's done. It's 12:35, it's done. And they were shocked. My dad was just like he put his face in his hands and he just said, oh, I can't believe I missed it. And he goes, I felt mum, I felt the warmth of the energy. It was almost like she didn't want them to be there. It was really weird. And then I remember this rainbow just coming outside the hospital window to signify that the transition. So that's where the story is. It starts going through the stages of grief, right? So I had to go through that deep darkness of going home and realizing now I've got to prepare for a funeral. And that's just like a whole new thing because you're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But I pretty much wrote the eulogy and I put it together and I said to my brother, you read this, I read this. But I really wanted to sort of make a tribute to her because she was a fun person and she had a beautiful laugh. And I've got that laugh when I've got that really heavy, when you start laughing, but you over laugh and it's a belly laugh. Yeah. Her laugh. And it comes through me many times when I just go, I wouldn't normally laugh at this. This is her sense of humor. So, that's what she was known for. She had a big smile. She loved color. She was just like, she loved going on cruises. That was her thing. So I really wanted that eulogy to be significant, to commemorate and celebrate the life, not feel sad and down, but just remember the fun moments with Dawn. Okay. So that was her name. And I remember getting through that, but life just became very flat after that. Like, you go back to work and you're like, these are first world problems when people come up to you with little insignificant things. You're like, and then I started to go through this stage of like, I don't want to really connect with anyone. I just wanted to go home and just be a bit of a hermit. And even though I had these young children that I'm trying to raise them and try to connect with them, I just couldn't. Like, I remember at one stage, I didn't take any photos of my child when she was 2. Like, I took her birthday photos. After that, there's a whole 6-9 months of not many photos. Like, I just stopped, like, taking pictures. I wasn't present as a mother. And I remember I started getting agitated at them and I could feel myself, like, getting triggered a lot. And I thought, I can't keep getting upset with these kids because they're doing the best they can. And they're children. Like, I should not be pouring out my anger and my frustration at my grief on them. And it was my girlfriend that said, "Oh, look, there's this coaching institution. They've got this weekend, finding your purpose in life. Do you want to come along?" I'm like, "Yeah, I need to get out of the house. I'll come with you." But that was a really good catalyst. I really needed to hear these people talk about what is the purpose in life? How can we find meaning? How can we give back, be of service? And I remember she turned to me and she said, "Do you want to work with children?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do. I do want to work with children. I don't need my own children. I want to help other people." And I remember it was like I went through a whole stage of grief for a good year. And so by the time we went to this seminar, it was a year later. But I also talk about in chapter 2, there was this moment where I s- I started to become very involved in the retro scene, like the mid-century fashion, because that was the alter ego rising. Okay. And I was like, I want to be a designer and I want to change my wardrobe. And I went through this whole transformation of all my clothes. And I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I was like a walking doll. I used to do my hair, full red lipstick, full vintage dresses. Loved it. It's an outside of beauty, right? That's what I'm looking for. But inside, I'm still grieving. So I'd gone through the 5 stages. I'd hit the anger, the resentment, the bargaining, the denial. And I'm slowly coming to acceptance, but I'm not because I'm still keeping myself busy. And even though I loved that full year of finding myself, my new style, the persona that I wanted to be, there was this dark side that was triggering. And so this coaching institution that year later helped me to realize I need to find something to be of service. Okay. And mindfulness was a buzzword. And I was like, I want to learn about mindfulness. What is this mindfulness? What is this being present in the moment and focusing on one thing and noticing what you're doing and coming to that place where you notice the stimuli, but you don't react. And I just did a deep dive and I said to her, there's this book and we need to get it from the library. It's called The 8 Weeks of Mindfulness in a Frantic World by Mark Williams. Will you be my partner and commit? And she's like, yes, let's do it. And I remember the audio, I would get up at 6 o'clock and put it on and I'm listening to this beautiful voice. It's like an English voice. And I'm like, this is weird, listening to my breath. I'm like breathing in, breathing out. And I'm like, when you get like little niggles and your little itch and you know that this is your little ego go, don't do this. Got better
Yes.
things. I'll give you a little scratch or a little
All the
nudge.
distractions.
Yeah, and I'm starting to witness my own little ego. Now I can see it, the false self. It's trying to distract me. And I was like, oh, this is what breath work is. This is what meditation is. And it was only by week 4 I started to notice the difference. And if something would happen at home, I could catch it. It was almost like, oh, there, I feel it. Like the trigger's there. I could feel it. And I was getting a little bit less reactive, but I knew that there was a lot of stuff that I'd suppressed. There's a lot of childhood traumas coming up and it needs to be dealt with. You can't like push it away anymore.
Yeah, keep hiding it.
Can't keep hiding from it. And then it was really fortunate. This is how the algorithms work. It's beautiful. And I started typing in like, is there such a thing as mindful parenting or something like that? Well, conscious parenting landed. And that was Dr. Shafali. And she's based in the US, so you must know her. But she's got Indian origin. She's a clinical psychologist, very famous for her books. The Conscious Parent,
Yep.
Awakened Families. Again, I did a deep dive. And I'm one of those people, like I really deep dive. I watch all their videos. I watch all their podcasts.
Your rabbit hole.
I'll get every book from the library and I'll buy it if I feel like it's a total
Yeah.
investment. So I started to do that. And I said to my girlfriend, okay, so we've got the mindfulness, meditations down pat, but it's the conscious parenting that we need to learn now because we need to parent ourselves. I found it why I'm still getting
Yes.
through it. And she was going through that too. Like we're both at the same stage of our lives, same age, the children were. And she's like, all right, what is it all about, Suzanne? So I said, right. So conscious parenting is when you realize that your triggers are actually from your childhood wounds. And so your child is a mirror. It's mirroring back to you where you need to grow up. And these are the things that we need to work on. So we need to have a self-care practice. We need to honor ourselves again. We need to come back to the true self, not the ego that's been protecting us for such a long time that we've lost ourselves. We've divorced ourselves. And, we need to honor the essence of our children because they are unique and they are sovereign and they're allowed to be as they are. But we're here to guide them. We're here to be the role models. How should we expect them to behave and we can't even behave and control and self-regulate ourselves? And she's like, oh my goodness, this is a lot. She said, I said, I know, but I'm committed. So I'm going to do the courses. And, the courses are amazing. They really do deep dive and they really break you open. But I think that's what we need. It's like, we don't get taught this stuff in school. We don't get taught this stuff by our parents because our parents are unconsciously parenting us. Well, it's like this vicious cycle. It just keeps evolving. It's generational trauma, right? And so my background is Sri Lankan heritage. Love it. Don't get me wrong. But, I was raised in a home where dad, it was authoritarian style. Like he decides yes or no. But it was firm, fair, and friendly. I loved it. But I knew that when I raised my children, I might do it slightly different because I knew that I needed to do the work. There's still growing up that Suzanne needs to do. And it was only when I started to commit to that practice that now I can look back and say it was worth it because now I've got an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old and they're just beautiful people. Like I've never had any problems. I've never had to discipline them. I've never had to put them in the corner and do timeout. And it just doesn't happen in my household. We have respectful, mutual relationships. And so I know that that's because I've done the work. And by me practicing and being that model of being conscious and aware of where I am and what I'm doing and showing up in my truest, authentic self, it allows them permission to do that. So, I mean, a lot of parents don't want to do it because it's like, oh, why do I need to work on myself? So, I don't want to do that. But we owe it to ourselves and not only our children, but for ourselves. Don't we want to find out who we are, like without all these cultural beliefs and, this attachment to form? Like we need to come back to the formlessness because that's where the true essence lies. That's where the authenticity. Yeah. So that's the journey. Like I talk about that in all the chapters, conscious parenting journey. So it's like it started in 2021 during COVID lockdown. Melbourne was the longest city, right? Everyone knew it in the world.
I was a travel agent at the time. I remember
That's crazy. And that's unfortunate. And I write about that, towards the end of the book, I acknowledge, I don't want to forget it, that I'm very disappointed at our state, why we did that. And that disappoints me. So I thought, no, I'm going to record it in the book. It might trigger people, but I don't care because this needs to be recorded in history. So I remember this divine calling, like, Suzanne, you need to write a book. And I'm like, I don't want to write a book. What am I going to write about? And it just kept nudging, like, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. I'm like, well, I don't know. Where do I begin? And then just one morning I just wrote and I said, you know what? I'm just going to start where it began. My mother's sudden death. Let's go. And I started to just start writing headings, free form, like 18 chapters. Boom, it just came. Wow. And I thought, well, if I'm going to write, let's write about the last decade. This journey started in 2012. We're going into 22. So I've got to have more chapters, but let's just begin there. I'm going to share key significant moments in my life that were catalysts of this transformation. And I didn't know the word at the time, but it was self-mastery. Now I can look at it. And so this is what the book talks about. It's the unraveling of, okay, we're in the 3D. We're attached to form. We're attached to identity. But then I move into 4D, which is the polarity of life, realizing, oh, I don't think I agree with that anymore. That's not my belief. That was a belief passed on through my culture. I want to challenge that. Or the veil starts to drop in this matrix, in this simulation, and you start to go, I don't think I agree with that anymore. I need to challenge myself. Where did that belief come from? And is it true for me? And then I move into the 5D, which is that unity consciousness where I realize we're all interconnected. This is how I would need to live in this state of getting out of the separate consciousness, but moving into unity consciousness where there is a love frequency. It's heart wisdom, heart-based or heart-centered wisdom that I'm stating my way of being, my way of life, rather than the ego that's in the driver's seat. A lot of people are operating from their ego mind, which is the false self. But when you come into heart-centered wisdom, it's truth. It's intuition. It's just tapping into that divinity of who you are. And that's what I talk about in these 19 chapters. When I got to the last chapters, like, okay, now I will finalize. This is my summary of how to live in abundance, how to live in a vibrant state of being. But I'm taking you on that journey, the roller coaster of grief. Then you come up and you find a hobby, and it might be the mindfulness, the meditation. At the start, it's like a discipline. You got to commit. You got to commit. But now normally I just get up at 5:15. That's it. It's clocked. My body knows it's time to get up. And that's became the self-care practice that I needed, because so many people don't know how to practice self-care. Again, not taught. And it's so important for mothers, especially, even fathers,
Absolutely for
like
moms.
making time for yourself to get in that right headspace to set the tone for the day. And I will get up earlier before everybody else to commit to that. So I'll do meditation. Some people might do journaling. Some people will go walking. But for me, like when I talk about in this book, it was so funny because I used to do an hour and a half. I'm like, that's really hardcore, Suzanne. But it's like, but that version of Suzanne needed it. But
Right.
now she refines it. Like I was going on walks and I'm doing meditation, I'm doing a workout, and that's cool. And she needed that. But now this version of me, I love doing the silver. I don't know if you've heard of Jose Silva. It's like a theta sort of hypnosis meditation. So you hear this like a tick, 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 and it's a voiceover of his voice, but it's all positive statements, positive affirmations. And it
Oh,
goes for
nice.
like, and sometimes I go into a deep trance. Like I don't even hear it to the end where he clicks his fingers and I'm like, just because it puts me into such a deep state of hypnosis. So I listen to that and then I'll do the Wim Hof, the 11-minute
Okay.
3 rounds of breath work. Love that. And then I'll finish off with rebounding, because there's a lot of research that say when we jump on a little
Oh,
mini
yeah.
tsunami, it's so good for the body. And I've noticed that like all your core, your whole body, every muscle feels something as it's jumping up and down. So I do a routine. That's my 30, 40 minute. That's it. But before I was doing an hour and a half, but she
Yeah.
needed that version of
Right.
me needed it. And I think it's like working out how can I commit to even like a minimum 20 days. We've got 24 hours in the day. If we can't give ourselves 20 minutes, what does that say about the relationship we have with ourselves? And I talk about you've got to be the greatest love of all. You've got to have a relationship with yourself before you can even give or be of service to others. How can you be abundant if you're just scraping the barrel every morning? You can feel it
Wow.
right. That's true. Like that's the reality. Nobody talks about it. You got to get a little bit uncomfortable
Yeah.
with your body, but once you do it and you see the benefits, you just want to get up. Like I just naturally will get up at 5:15, 5:30. I don't need an alarm. My body knows it's time to get up, Suzanne. Time
Just
to do it.
reprogramming yourself.
Yeah, you do. You do. And I'm not tired. Like I'm surprised. Like I should feel tired, but I don't.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I watched the
The sun's
sunrise.
not up yet. Why am I awake?
I'll relax on the weekends, but my Monday to Friday, I like to have a routine, and that my body knows. That's how I like to start my day. That's how I set the tone of the day. And then I talk about all these other things that start to happen, because I'm like, I want to learn about Reiki, like energy healing, because my girlfriend was already doing her master's in that.
Okay.
And when I received Reiki from her and I could feel this magnetic force around my body as she puts her hands just, a little bit over the skin. You don't have to touch the body. You can do it a little bit above. You could just feel this magnetic pull. And I'm like, what is this energy? Like, this is amazing. And I'm like, I want to learn this. I want to get attuned to it. I want to understand what it is so I can also give back and do a Reiki share. And so I did that. I did 2 levels. So level 1, level 2, and you learn some symbols and things like that. And so that's helped a lot. When my children have had, sore muscles or aching pains from growing pains, I'm like, I can lay my hands on them and do Reiki. And they feel it. They go, thanks, Mum. Gone. It's just little things like that. How can I give back so I never have to go to the doctor? I can be the doctor of this house, the shaman of this household. I got into sound healing. That's another powerful force. I've got frame drums, singing bowls. So I'll go to my girlfriends' homes and they're like, let's do a sound healing. It's like, happy to do it because I get something out of it too. I feel the vibrations. I feel the difference and that joy and that uplifting feeling when you finish a 40-minute session. So I love to give back. And that's I just dabble into all these holistic things. I try and avoid big pharma, like medication.
Yes.
I will go all natural if I can. I even talk about bioresonance therapy. So I
Okay.
discovered the spooky kit. Not many people know about it. It's a weird name. It's called the spooky kit too, but it's based on the right frequency energy healing. So it's based on this concept of quantum entanglement. So you have your DNA and you put your little fingernail into this little, it's like a little container that receives the frequencies, the
Okay.
pulsating. The way it works is that quantum entanglement, you can have two particles, but in the middle, don't worry about it because it's still receiving the frequency. So my DNA can be in another room
Yes.
and it's receiving, and I'm receiving it too. And I know it works because my daughter had a little sty in the corner of the eye. I said, don't worry, give me a little fingernail, popped it in the container. I'll run the program for the sty overnight. Next morning, you show me your eye and she goes, great, gone. I said, I told you all that. So it's like,
Wow.
and once I had food poisoning, I ran the whole program on salmonella, everything that I could think that was related to food poisoning. I recovered in 24 hours. All the
Nice.
other people from my workplace were sick for 3, 4 days. So I
That
know
was the spooky kit?
the spooky kit, spooky 2 kit. I'll send you the
Where
link
will we get
later.
that
But
in the
it's in my
US?
book. Talk about we are so behind the times.
Oh, yeah.
Europe uses
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Australia doesn't know, but you
I
can do
didn't
your
even know
own
it existed.
self-sampling. Oh, it's absolutely amazing. I run so many programs, and the beautiful thing, you run it 24/7. So I will just
Okay.
intuitively run programs like chakra balance, DNA healing, anti-aging. Like I'm 49, so it's like I'm reverse aging as I
Look
speak.
incredible.
So that's what I mean. It's just amazing. People don't know these things, but this is what happens. The rabbit hole is when you start to awaken. I've
Yeah.
gone down the rabbit hole. I do the research. I watch all these videos and I share this knowledge and I share it in the book because I want people to feel empowered. I want people to be responsible for themselves. Don't keep relying. Don't give your power away.
Right.
Become empowered individuals, become sovereign. That's what I talk about as well. Become sovereign. I didn't know what that word meant. But then when I started to do all these things, I realized I'm becoming sovereign, self governing of my
Yes.
own body autonomy. And it's beautiful. Not having to have any medication. I live drug free. I don't have to take anything. And that's how I want my children, that generation, to grow up knowing that they could just type these programs and just have it as a little thing in the background that's working 24/7, helping their cells generate or kill things off that they don't need. And that's the beauty of this story that I share. It's just all these little things that helped me. And if you go on your own journey, you go on where you're at, what you're open to. And the great thing about it is that within the book, there's these like QR codes. So you get to the end of the chapter and I'll give a reflection. And then I put a QR code and I'm like, okay, so if you want to learn about Abraham Hicks, that's
Okay.
a channeler, she channels it. Here's
Yes.
some videos, check it out. If you want to learn about Dr. Shafali, learn about her podcast series. She's got amazing videos. You might find that episode that changes your life. It might be relatable to you. A Kundalini awakening, that was another thing that amazing happening to me. And it's like, at the time, I'm like, what is going on with my body? Because I could feel this like energy field coming through and it's like a coil and it just like cracks open. But all these things your soul will know when it's ready. And it may not happen in this lifetime, but we are definitely going through awakening. We're in the year of
Yes.
2025. It's the year of the snake. It's the serpent energy. There is a great awakening happening. It's a great time to be alive. Even though there's all this stuff happening, it's the collapse of the patriarch. It's the collapse of the masculine, the toxic masculine. And now we need this divine feminine and the divine masculine to unite again, to unity consciousness. And, I talk a lot about that. I don't want to go too hard in it, but it's like I just give you this soft, gentle approach. And if you want a deep dive, then you go and explore other books. But here's a taste. It's a sample of what I've experienced, the number of hours of videos that I've watched, because I don't watch normal TV anymore. My education comes from all these amazing channels, gurus and wisdom teachers. And I take little snippets, what
Yeah.
resonates with me. I wouldn't say like I'm hardcore, like that's the only thing I listen to and that is the only absolute truth. I believe there's multiple truths going on,
Yeah.
but that's how I developed my spiritual wisdom. And I'm a spiritual seeker, I would say. I love just seeing different ideas and what they've got to offer. And if it resonates, I take it in and then I move on. And if I feel like someone needs to hear it, I'll just go, oh, check out this video. I think this might resonate with you. I was thinking of you. And that's it. I'll just keep sharing. I plant seeds. And that's what I
I
do in the
love
book. I
that you
plant
include it in
seeds.
your
I
book.
might trigger
Exactly.
you, and that's okay. But chapter 1 and 2 is a hard read. I read it, and I had to do the audio, and I still get teary because it's like because I bring you into that. Okay, we're going to go on this ride. You got to hang on. It's a deep dive, but we're going to go through the grief. But we're going to come out, and I start to show you little pockets of light, little pockets, flutters of good, and then I might bring you back down again. So it's always like you're playing snakes and ladders with me. We'll ride up a little bit and then we'll come back down. We'll ride up a little bit, we'll come back down. But that is life, isn't it? Life goes banana, banana. Then you have these
It
moments.
sure does. It does.
Yeah.
And, you were in the grief cycle. You said that you were in it for about a year. I know
Yeah,
a
about a
lot of
year and a bit. But
stuff.
mind you, that doesn't go. Like, I mean, like there's moments where I might hear a song on the radio or, I've done other podcasts and it just depends where I'm at in that moment, what triggers me, but like today I'm comfortable and I can talk about it. But there are sometimes if someone else is telling me their grief story, I feel sad for them. And they're like, I didn't mean to upset you. And it's like, it's not that because you become more of an empath. You feel that
Yes.
pain of what it must feel like because I've been there. That wound, it just covers, but then it opens very quickly because it's a memory. It holds on to that memory. And so, yeah, I think it's like you'll never get over it, but you'll just learn to move forward. Okay. And I feel like sometimes my mum is still around me in an energy field and she's probably doing more for me now. Like she's probably one of my guardian angels. But she's my parking angel for sure. Whenever I say, Mom, I need a parking, there it is. It's just the way I'm like, thank you. So I know
I
she's
love it.
doing more for me now, probably than she could in her human form. Okay. So, and that's how I see the joy. It's like, okay, you left the earth plane, you had to exit. That was your contract. I get it. That's your soul contract. But in those moments, I realized, well, the gift is now I can tell your story and you're included in this. So you're part of this journey. And, if she didn't pass, who knows where I would be? I may have got here, but maybe in a slower way or a different path. I don't know. But I definitely know that her passing was the catalyst. It really cracked me open. It made me sort of realize, oh, there's a lot that I've suppressed. I'm just holding it together. I'm masking it together. Not even my own husband, when he read the book, like he's gone to chapter, I think he's up, I've got his book here in front of me. I think he's up to chapter 11 or 14. I said, did you not know like what was going on? He goes, no, I didn't know.
Wow.
And he's known what? Like he did, even my best friend, she goes, you masked it so well. Like I couldn't even tell that because you're so happy and you're so, I said, well, that's what you do. You just hold it
Yeah.
together. Because I
You
want to
have to
be like,
keep going on no matter what.
you
You
just got
have
to get on with life. But she goes, don't ever do that again. I know, I'm sorry. Well, I just like, but now I'm authentic. Like I will, I'll be true to myself. But I think I'm at that place where now I can hold space for people. I think things happen for a reason because when people will eventually go through the passing of their own parents, and my friends aren't there yet, their parents are still alive, but I feel like maybe I'll be holding space for them. Maybe I'll be their container because I'll understand what that is. Because until it happens to you, you don't know. You need to join the club to understand what it's like. Because only people can go, oh, I'm sad for you, condolences. But people don't understand that deep pain that you feel. And it depends on the relationship. I was very close to my mum. We would have our Friday night chats and, we would muck around and we just we had a great relationship. It wasn't like feisty or anything like that. And so I think the closer you are, the harder the fall is because it's a
yes.
really like losing a limb. It's like, oh my God, this is a significant person. And I think I was frustrated that she didn't get to experience the fullness of being a nana. She
Mhm.
only had a small time with the children and she just loved it. It's like she loved being a nana. And it's like, oh, just missed it. It was just right at the heart of this childhood where you got a 6 and a 10-year-old, and you didn't get to experience them in their adult years, like coming close to the teens and that. And that saddens me sometimes. But I'm very fortunate. I know her sisters. I still have a relationship. And when I see them and I speak to them, I hear her because they got the accents. They've got similar mannerisms. So that's kind of cool when I get to go up to them and I can see portions of my mother in them, So that's that I feel that closeness when I catch up with them as a family. But it is hard, but I knew in myself I didn't want to be a motherless daughter. I didn't want to be this like feeling sorry for myself and grieving because I knew she doesn't want that. She wants me to be,
Right.
you know.
She
That's
sounds
what I
like
want.
she was a fun person from your
She
description.
was. She was
So,
very.
yeah.
She had a wicked sense of humor. She loved watching all the English comedies and the American comedies. She had that laughter. You could just hear it from another room, and I'm a bit like that. So it's like my laugh travels three,
I
four
love it.
rooms. The room, her laugh is exactly like that. So yeah, but it was good. But I think the book it's for people that are they're going through their own journey, spiritual awakening, and they're a little bit like, oh, that's happened to me. Is this normal? You could use my book as a guide. It's showing you that it's okay. If you get a Kundalini awakening, or you might tap into this energy field and you start to want to explore it. I mean, I've gone through the start where you go through the crystals, you go through the oracle cards. I've done all that. I don't need back to that. But that's what happens. You start to explore the new age wisdom
Yeah.
because you want to just step out of your comfort zone. You want to know from the other side that everyone says don't do. But I realize if you can just dabble in little things, don't get too caught up in it, just see what resonates with you. It's okay. It's safe. And I think it's always being present. You want to do it with good intention, bring in good light, do it with the highest frequency. You're not doing it from a dark place or a malice place. You're doing it from the purest form of divinity. And that's how I sort of try and do anything that I do. I always ask for divine presence, source energy, God, whatever the word that needs to come through, because I believe in that. I believe that there is something bigger out there than us humans. So, and we are off the light. Think about Hugh.
Yeah.
Hugh is light, right? So,
I wanted to ask you a couple questions because I don't feel like we need to go back to the rabbit hole. I think you did a very
sure.
good job of bringing us on that journey with you. And, I do want to say, I'm sorry about your mother's passing, even though
No,
I
no, don't
a
feel
long time
sorry.
ago. I,
That's
I,
life. We've all got to go through it.
the, yeah, I feel like a lot of people are stuck in some sort of grief, whether
Mm,
it's the actual physical passing or maybe they
yeah.
didn't know who their parent was. And so, they're experiencing that sort of, or that side of abandonment, or if you will.
Mm,
And the fact that you just started this journey to heal yourself because you said you didn't want to be a motherless
mhm.
daughter, and
Yeah.
you still wanted to honor her and to bring her
Yeah.
into your present. I
Mm,
absolutely love that. You
mm,
talked several times about some different things that you did, and I like to think that some of my listeners have no idea about the spiritual awakening that they can have, and they might be very, very new to that particular part of their journey. Can you talk about some of those you talked about Reiki really nicely. I loved your description of Reiki and your explanation of that. But some of these other, like the Kundalini awakening and some other sound healing and whatnot, would you
mm.
care to go into a little bit? I don't want to give too much away because
Yeah.
they need to read
Yeah,
your book
yeah,
and scan
yeah.
those QR codes. But just to kind of
Yeah.
give them an idea if this might be something where they need to start, just to kind of have a
Yeah.
idea of
I
that.
think I think definitely meditation is a good place to start when you can sit in the stillness of who you are and start to witness, because when you start to just focus on your breath, you got to remember the brain or the mind can't do two things at once. So when you're sitting in meditation, people are like, what is this? I don't get it. Like, I don't want to follow my breath. I don't want to sit with myself. That is your ego. That is your ego, because your natural state of being is breath. Like,
Yes.
it's that neutral form where you're not attached to anything. But we are so hooked on thinking, doing, doing, doing. But think about it, human being, hue, light, being, stillness. So when you start to do the breath work, then you start to open up your chakras, and especially your third eye, which is just between the eyebrows, that little point in the middle. But all the chakras start to open up, because what's happening, a lot of people have blocks, and that's where the dis-ease comes. We're at unease, right? There's a disharmony in the body. So when you start to open up these chakra systems, then you start to become more open to the field, okay? Because you got to think, we only see like less than 10%, probably even less than 1%, I'm being generous, of our vision, right? Of what we can see in this energy field or this spectrum of the earth. But beyond that, there's so much more going on there. Like I've got friends that can see beyond that. They can see guardian angels and, you know, all these like esoteric things that come forward. Now, my eyes won't see that, but intuitively, clairvoyantly, I can tap into a sense of knowing because we've all got different senses and abilities. Some people see, some people can future predict things. Some people have a sense of knowing, a sense of hearing. It's an audio, but we're so blocked off on that because as young children, we're just taught, go to school and this is what you learn. So we've blocked ourselves from not seeing that. Sometimes young children do see it. And as parents, we go, you can't see that. Don't be silly. So we shut off that ability. But if we could teach ourselves, even from a young age, to do breath work, we would start to open up these energy fields of seeing more, feeling more, identifying more in this frequency. Okay. So my recommendation is start on the breath, learn mindfulness, even just being present in what you're doing. If you're drinking from this cup and you're drinking your tea, look at the steam as it's building up after you put the boiling water, smell it, use your senses, sip on it, taste it with your taste buds, because we're so consumed with, I've got to go on the phone, I've got to do multitasking. You got to get out of this phase of multitasking. It helps sometimes, but we shouldn't make it our go-to every day. We should take moments to just sit in the sun and bask. If you can sun gaze, early sunrise, sunset, just getting that little bit of light, direct looking at it, just taking in those sun rays, actually good for us. We're being told that it's an inverted world we live in, right? Look at the animals. They know, they demonstrate it. They go and bask in the sun. They're not scared of it. They're always just like feeling it. You're in the moment. Look at young children and look at your pets. They are examples of being mindful, being present, being in the moment. We as adults have lost that. We've become very like, we can't do that. We're very restricted. Don't, be authentic. But children, newborn babies are the most authentic. They are untainted by these false belief systems. They look at the world with curiosity. They smile at everything. Like they see the miracles of life. They see the beauty in everyone. They don't see people with color. They don't look at race. They don't discriminate. And the same as our pets. They lovingly will look at us and adoringly adore us.
Yes.
Right? So these are examples. They are the closest to divinity, to divine source, prime creator. We've lost ourselves. We've become disconnected. So the only way to connect is on the breath. Start doing the breath work. Start meditating. Start to get to know yourself from the inside out.
Beautiful. I absolutely love
Work
that.
from the inside out, and then everything else will fall into place. Because intuitively, you'd be like, I want to learn about this. You just have this inner guidance. Tap into that, and that will take you on your own journey from the ego to your heart center.
And that's actually a perfect segue for me for me to go ahead and because we are coming down to the last couple minutes of the
Yeah.
episode, and I do want you to be able to tell everybody where they can find you, but also talk about you went on your own rabbit hole and you went down all of these different rabbit holes to find you picked this thing and then you went to this thing and you went to this thing and you're linking all of that in your book. So now that is actually a perfect segue for us to hear where we can find you and a little bit more information on your book and whatnot. So go ahead.
Awesome. Yep. So I've got an Instagram page and then you do the / Suzanne Marambio 1. So that will be shared. Lisa will share that anyway. There is also many links there. So you can click on to links. Like I've got my own YouTube page, Divine Mothering with Grace. I did lots of videos prior to this. I was sharing my light language. I didn't talk about light language, but I don't want to give too much away, but light language is it's related to this idea that we were on earth, okay? We speak in languages. We speak in this vocal dialect, but actually light language is a universal, it's a vocal toning. So your brain will go, I don't know what this means. But some people say, like, if you've come from that Christian belief, it's talking in tongues.
Talking in tongues.
It
Yeah.
sounds, yeah, okay. So for me, I did a workshop and I activated that. And so again, it's like your brain, it's got to get out of this ego. Because at the start, you're like, I don't know if I'm faking this. I don't know if it's real. Because your ego will second guess you, like, oh, you're an imposter syndrome. You're just pretending to be channeling. But once you get your ego out of the way and it starts to just watch the show and just hold back and allow your pure light to, connect to this fifth dimension or the eighth dimension of light language, it will start to come through. And that's what happened to me. I got activated. So I'll do a couple of breaths and then I tap into that divinity and the light language gets tapped on. And it has evolved. It started off very like fast and very like, it's like, it's really like lots of shrills and clicks and things like that. But over time, it's very slow and it's just, when my friends hear this, go, I know what my soul needs to do because it resonates with them. Okay. So some people can speak, like they can speak in English and say what they're saying. My brain does not do that. Like I just go in full flow of light language and I let it just need to come out. I might go for 5 minutes, might go for 10 minutes. And then I just know that it's done. And then I just sort of tap back into my body and I say, right, come back to myself now. I'm closing this session and I'll go to my girlfriend. So what did you get out of it? And they're like, I heard it. It was almost like a verbal, you need to do this. And it's like connected to their soul because they understand, they hear the message. The soul hears the message and that's light language. But
Beautiful.
yeah, like I think for everybody, it's like, watch my channel. I've got lots of videos because I started to record it. I thought, well, maybe people will get something out of this. And if it's happening to them, they'll realize, oh, it's okay. Like, don't be afraid of it. Get out of your head. Like my cousin's going through it. She's learnt the course as well, but she's like, oh, I'm not ready to share it yet because I don't know if it's really me. Or it's like, and I said, that's the imposter syndrome. It's like, you got to get out of your head. But yeah, I've got Divine Mothering with Grace, and then my Instagram page will have all the links. The book's there as well. It's on Amazon store. It's Barnes and Nobles in the US,
Okay.
Waterstone in the UK, and Pegasus Publications. But all the different links are there. But Amazon is probably the best place because it's spread across. Okay. So it's called Journey from the Ego to the Heart Center.
And I will have links in the show description so anybody can just click on there and get your information or connect with you.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, happy to chat if anyone wants to know a bit more. But yeah, it's like there's so much. Like I'm only just tapping the surface. Like
And
you
there
can
really is. So they need to pick up your book and scan those QR codes to learn
Yes,
they'll be able to go deeper and
exactly. I think
whatnot.
it's about, well, there's 19 chapters. I probably put about 15 QR codes. It's like choose your adventure. If you like that chapter,
I love it.
I liked that. I wanted it to be interactive. I didn't want it to be a book where I go, oh, that's a great read and put it down. I
Right.
want you to take action. I want you to be responsible for your self-mastery, for becoming authentic, for being your true self. You get this once lifetime in this body. Why not do it now? Like take action. So, and this is a great time to do it. This is the
Absolutely
year
is.
of the awakening. It's the year of transformation. And this book gives you permission to do it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And absolutely, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story on Rabbit Hole Reflections. I have enjoyed listening to every word that you have spoken, and I know that the listeners will get something out of this too. So, again, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much. I had a great time. Loved it.
Thank you for joining us on another journey down the rabbit hole. If this conversation resonated with you, be a light in someone's darkness by sharing this episode. Connect with our community on Facebook at Rabbit Hole Reflections and catch our video episodes on YouTube at Rabbit Hole Reflections Podcast. All resources mentioned today are linked in the show notes. Remember, we all face our own rabbit holes. It's not the falling that defines us, but how we emerge and what we bring back. Until next time, remember that even in our darkest moments, wisdom awaits. I'm Lisa Van Slyke, and this has been Rabbit Hole Reflections.